Hello, welcome to or back to this channel where I, a mental health therapist, attempt to and eventually will successfully convert this shuttle bus into a mobile therapy office. I've highlighted several uses for this bus in the introduction video, but if you're here now, come watch the struggle. Oh no! Although finding this, what feels like a gaping hole in the ceiling, was devastating and is going to require stretching my skills even further than I wanted to, it actually validated everything that I had decided up until this point to remove everything down to the basic skin and ribs of the bus. Because left unfixed, that would be catastrophic in the long run, and I'm not doing this bus twice. Hopefully this is one of my last trips to the dump from the demolition stage. Not a fan, but needs to be done. And I think I'll have one more after we're pulling up all this rubber floor matting to take to the dump, and then hopefully I can just start building. I'm cutting around this bump out very, very carefully because it's where the fuel goes in on the other side of the bus, and it's got metal behind that white paneling thing. And so it was a little nerve-wracking because there were a couple sparks, and I am grateful that I just have to build around this and not wheel wells. So it's been a long time. I was doing a lot last summer. I got all the rest of the ceiling scraped, every last awful bit of it, and filmed a lot about that. Filmed replacing one of the windows as like a proof of concept. Works fine, great, awesome. Found a lot of leaks, I need to plug those. I was going to start incorporating like bits and pieces from my life, have informed some of the psychological principles that I use on a daily basis, like metacognition, cognitive reframing, all the good stuff. But also, towards the end of last summer, I had a relative tell me that I have a tendency to public grandstand and play the victim role. And so that really made me pause and think. And as I think it was intended to, in dysfunctional families, there's usually a big investment in keeping the kind of facade going and, you know, air dirty laundry. And it wasn't even meant to like point fingers or lay blame or anything, but to show how things are related, things are connected. And the things that a lot of my stuff is connected to happen to be super dysfunctional, or at least in the past. And so, for instance, one of the things is that I've shared that I struggle with perfection at times, and I have to keep reminding myself, and taking risks. Y'all are probably, well, maybe not, familiar with the idea that the kids in school who are, you know, identified as smart, intelligent, gifted, whatever, that becomes part of their identity. And then a lot of effort is spent keeping that identity, whatever that means, at all costs. And especially if your acceptability is connected to how you do academically. And so those kids don't take a lot of risks. They don't ask a lot of questions over time, because a lot of the energy is spent covering perceived failures, covering perceived ignorance. And, you know, we can know with our thinking brain that everybody makes mistakes and it's okay and nobody knows everything and yada yada. But it can very much feel like a safety thing. So, all of that to say that towards the end of summer, I was, like I said, doing a lot on the roof and kind of taking more time to reflect on how I wanted to reference things from the past, which I ultimately realized like this isn't probably the time or place. So you can find that through my social medias if you really want to know, other than referencing here and there. I'll have a place where like all it's spelled out. Anyway, I was driving down a somewhat narrow road that I'd driven down like the week before with no problems, just some tree branches that scraped the top of the bus. Okay, well, today's gonna be no different. So I go down that same road and at a pretty good clip, because I only expected it to be branches. And I busted in the front right corner of the fiberglass, put a pretty big hole in it. Probably because I didn't take into account that there had been some pretty big storms and must have knocked a really big branch into what just looked like little ones. So I felt really deflated by that for quite a while. And since it was pretty much the end of, well, I guess it wasn't exactly the end of building season, but for a while I felt like I didn't want to share that with anybody, that I didn't absolutely have to. Way worse feeling than knocking into my neighbor's mailbox. So it's like, I should have known better. But that's another like negative cognition from the EMDR list. And so I worked through a lot of those things. And I never feel like doing anything in the bus in the winter time. So what I did to fix the hole temporarily, it's not really a fix, but it is a Band-Aid. I cut up some I forget what they're called, but it's like a really stiff, not wood, but like not cardboard either, but it's like, I don't know, it's got some give to it. And so I had some strips cut out so I could make kind of the curve to go along with the curve of that corner of the bus, and screwed to hold those into place, just those boards into place. And I taped them together, and then I taped them with this waterproof like aluminum tape. And I kept checking it over the winter time, and I left it untarped to make sure that I could get a good read on it. And it didn't, knock on wood, didn't seem to leak at all. Like I said, I know it's just February and I'm working up the courage. I was trying to work up the courage before it got winter, but now it's spring, and I'm really, that's one of my next things, is to work up the courage to do fiberglass construction without having any guidance other than ye old YouTube. But we'll just see how it goes. I'm trying to let go of perfection and this idea that it has to look a certain way. It just has to be functional. Looks are secondary. And, you know, coats of paint can hide a lot, I hope. Anyway, that's another thing I want to hopefully get done before the next winter time, is everything that needs to be done that will cut through the sides of the bus. And so that'll be like power intake, water intakes, both for city and gravity fed, all of the stuff for the ceiling. So I got a marine skylight hatch to replace the old ugly emergency exit hatch, so that I can have a nice little view and still have access to the roof if I need it. But I have to cut a bigger hole and figure out how to brace it. And I got 2 fans, max air fans, so I can circulate air from one side of the bus to the other. I'm hoping I can save up enough money again to get the heating and cooling unit, the drop-in AC that I was looking at last year. Hopefully I can get that in before it gets incredibly stupid hot. That would just be a nice bonus. I have to do the braces for solar panels, which I can't afford yet, but hopefully someday. What are the things I have to punch through? Those are the main ones. A lot of roof work, and so I have to make sure that I know how to make things leaky proof. So everything's down to just the metal ribs. I'm gonna like brush sand it just briefly, and then spray it down with chassis saver. And I'm down to the bare subflooring plywood. And there are some water spots. I think the worst one is over here by the wheelchair lift. Like in that area, it's really kind of gross. The top layer of wood is pretty soft. I'm hoping once I sand that down, then it won't be so bad and I can just build back up from there. So I'm gonna sand the floor down, paint it with this mold and mildew resistant, water resistant stuff. Then, hopefully, before winter, get the 2-inch, I think I'm gonna do 2-inch that foam insulation stuff, that like really compressed stuff. And then Chuck Cassidy, who's a bus builder guy, says that if you use that, you don't need to do fraying strips underneath your floor. I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, he should know, obviously, but we'll see how it works in real life. And he does school buses, not shuttles, so that's why I'm gonna go with the 2-inch. He recommends 4, but we'll see, because they have, school buses have a metal pan. I'm kind of filing away all of this in case I ever want to do another bus again, a bigger bus, maybe. We'll see. I think that's about it. Lots of odds and ends. Yeah. And then I'm gonna do spray foam probably for the ceiling and the walls. I've been getting a lot of materials and equipment from Facebook Marketplace. So I have a really big sink that kind of has an interesting little cutout shape. I'm hoping it'll provide more space without feeling like it takes up too much counter space. Got faucets for the sink. Got support for the what will eventually be the table when it's in couch mode, and a part of the underneath for the mattress when it's in bed form. There's a quilt table, just kind of like goes from table height to bed height for RVs. What else? Picked up some tiles today for at the thrift store. Whole box of like 11 sheets of hexagonal. They look like cement tile type of things. And I'm thinking I'll have like a little pop-up shower cabinet thing hidden away in the cabinetry that I'll tile that with. Solidified my floor plan, I think. Hopefully this time I've got everything figured out, because you have to kind of think in 5D almost, because you got all these systems that have to like work together and fit together, and it's been challenging but very fun. I think that's it. All right, let me know if you have questions.